because we get these roles where it's really easy to not actually talk about our own stuff. But I think what leaders mistake a lot of times is that if they had needs or wants, people wouldn't meet them there. And what's actually true relationally is if you don't have needs and wants, you're hard to love because people don't know what to do and they're bad guessers. And so if you go, I don't need or want anything, it's like, well, that actually doesn't help relationships and challenges them.
Hey, welcome to Wealth Beyond Riches. Today, I'm sitting down with my good friend Jason VanRuler, therapist, coach, and author for high-performing executives, professionals, actors, athletes. He's worked with leaders in boardrooms, in crisis, and in marriages, and even inside prison walls after an unexpected start to his career. We talk about what it really looks like to lead under pressure, why self-awareness can feel like a curse before it becomes a gift, and what gets in the way of knowing what you actually want. We also get into his new book, Discover Your Communication Type, and the 5 styles that shape how we relate to others. Even on air, he's gonna make me pick my communication type and try to figure it out. Friends, this one is real, it's practical, and different in the best way. I'm so glad that you're here. If you're new, hit subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. This is gonna be good. How did you, right now you're a therapist, a coach, apparently a marketing consultant.
Depends on the day, yes.
Yeah, which I love, by the way. I was talking to somebody the other day about being a generalist in things and just how valuable that is and gives you so many options. So tell me first, what are you doing right now? What are maybe some of the main buckets of things you're working on right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I always joke with people that I have career ADHD. And so there's just a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
I think where I'm spending a lot of time is advising some companies on how to do culture better.
Okay. Working
with leaders under pressure. So I do a lot of leaders under pressure when it comes to relationships and families.
Okay.
And then writing and speaking as I'm able.
Okay. What, working with leaders and organizations, how did you get there? What does that pathway look like a little bit?
Yeah, well, I'm a brilliant strategist, so I just sort of have fallen into everything. Tim.
Yes.
I just sort of fall into it. Here's what I'll say is I feel like, my whole career, I've just sort of started to do a thing, which has led to another thing and led to another thing. And at the end of the day, a lot of the things I end up in are closely related to interests. Yeah. So I have had several businesses over the years. It's really of interest to me. That growth and development and leadership is something I'm really passionate about. And so I think probably like you experienced when you are in those rooms, it just sort of begets some opportunities.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of gone, okay, well, this sounds like an amazing opportunity. How do I need to improve or study to be the man for the job? Mm-hmm.
That's really good. So give me some of those places along the way. Like if you were reading through your resume of from here to here, he worked here, what would some of those checkpoints be?
Yeah, I mean, it was really unusual in how it got started. So I kind of had I did actually have a master plan. So there was a master plan.
Yeah.
Going into grad school. Before grad school, I'd owned a recruiting company. And so I was happy doing that, but always felt kind of called to help people as a therapist. And so went to my sweet wife and just said, hey, I got this grand idea and calling, and it requires me to go to school for the next 6 years and maybe make a quarter of what I'm making now. And I remember, she just loved me so much, but she's like, okay, yeah, this sounds awesome.
And where's the rest of the plan? Exactly. It seems like only half worked out here.
She's like, yeah, I don't know about that. So I got started. I was sure I was initially going to go into private practice.
Yeah. And
so went to get my internship, and I live in a smaller town. And so it was kind of like one of two internships. There was working at the prison or there was working in a private practice. And I went and I said, hey, I've got a 3.98 GPA. I'm the man for the job. And the person actually said, oh, that's great. We don't hire perfectionists. And so you're out. And so I'm like, man, I've waited years for this moment and I'm out and I don't even understand. And so that led me to work in the prison system, which is, believe it or not where I thought I'd end up. I didn't dress appropriately. I mean, there were just a lot of things about me that made that feel like I shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, Tim, once I got in there, I became really just fascinated and interested in how do people actually change? And how do they change when there's not a lot of people that care if they do? And so that led me to really study how do people do that? How do you help people do it? Which led me to opening a group practice that covered a couple states. And then some people said, well, how did you do that? So that led to business stuff. And then the business people had relationships and they're like, my marriage is struggling. So it's just all kind of stacked up to that place.
Yeah.
But from a very unlikely start that I couldn't have imagined.
You said it was a calling coming out of the recruiting agency. Talk about that. What did that mean to you at the time?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and I've shared this story before, but I was actually, like, as an 8-year-old, I journaled that I wanted to be a therapist. And I'm serious. I have the journal. I have the journal.
What?
I was gonna be a psychologist in a brownstone apartment in a city, and I had like all these dreams and goals that I wrote down.
But what about the NBA or the NHL? Like what happened to that?
I'm going to tell you something, Tim. I've always worn corduroys and penny loafers. So, I mean, I knew sports was never going to be my thing. Okay. I accepted that early.
Okay.
I had the patch on my sweater. I just knew that wasn't going to be part of it. Oh. And so as a kid, like, that's what I wanted. And then I kind of forgot along the way because life got messy. And then as I was doing this recruiting thing, what I found is I was just so interested in the people more than the placement. I was good at my job and I really enjoyed it, but I was really more interested in the transformation people were undergoing and the transition. And so that kind of reawakened that interest for me.
Yeah. That's wild. So working with leaders, and a lot of leaders are probably listening to this. What is it you're doing with leaders right now to help either them or their organization? Let's start with them. What are you doing to help leaders, like, individually, one-on-one?
Yeah, really, where I show up with leaders is often when it's high stakes, high pressure, making sense and clarity out of things that are unclear and messy. Okay. So I'm usually kind of brought in when someone's starting something or when someone's taking over something or when it's not working. And the way that I typically approach that is identity. So a lot of leaders, high performers, athletes, actors, all the above, they're really driven by, if I do this, then I'll feel that. And it's one of the most kind of destructive beliefs that we're given as kids sometimes, is that if I accumulate enough success, then it will change my internal state. So we're kind of taught at this young age, my outer world controls my inner world. And so what I work with a lot of leaders on is actually flipping that and saying the better way is my inner world controls my outer world.
Yeah. So how do you walk somebody through that?
Yeah, you have to know who you are.
Yeah.
And that sounds very simple. And I think when you say it, it even sounds like a little bit cliche. Oh, here's a therapist, when we talk about processing.
Know yourself.
Know yourself. Yeah. It's a very original idea. Yeah. But at the same time, we live in a time where it's so easy to be distracted. Yeah. And to create what I would call a curated self. And the curated self is the one for social media. It's the one that we put out there that everybody sees. That it kind of feels harder than ever to really know who you are because there's a lot of inputs telling you who to be instead.
Yeah. Wow. As you're sitting down with somebody maybe for the first time, how are you guiding them into knowing themselves? How about this? How are you helping them undo the curated self? And how do you tell somebody, hey, that's not real. That's not actually you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question because, Scott Peck always said mental health is a commitment to reality at all costs. So, I mean, a big portion of my job is to be a mirror and to say, but this is how it actually looks. Yeah. And so one of the first things I do with somebody is I just say, let's get honest. How does it actually look? And there's the version you tell other people, there's the version you tell yourself, and then there's the truth. Yeah. Oh. And let's talk about the truth.
Yeah. How does somebody get to the truth? If let's say I'm working through something on my own, and how would I walk through the version I tell other people, myself, and then the truth?
Yeah, I mean, I think the version I tell other people is easy, right? We all know that one without really a lot of prompting. I think the version we tell ourselves is also fairly easy. The truth part, though, is where we struggle.
Yeah.
The truth part is where we need to talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
Because we have to be asked questions to really dig into, is that true?
Mm.
Because otherwise, we kind of create this echo chamber, and especially if we're leaders, where everybody is happy to tell us what we want to hear.
Yeah.
And so we actually need someone to kind of say, but wait a second, are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, is there a different version of that? Or is that really what you think?
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. What is, as you're walking a leader through that, what are some of the roadblocks to figuring out what the truth is? Because I would imagine that probably takes a while, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, it can. So one of the things I specialize is doing intensives. So I typically will meet with someone for one day, right? And so I'll meet with them, we'll do a really intense day, and they might come back in 6 months.
Yeah.
So I tend to do a more intensive format just because we can get more done in one day than trying to do hour by hour.
Okay.
But I think, when I'm meeting with somebody, I think one of the pitfalls to knowing yourself is understanding it might demand you change. Because one of the hardships of awareness is that if you don't do anything with it, it makes you miserable. And so when people kind of start this journey of self-identity and who they really are and what they need and what they're called to, one of the biggest hurdles they have to face is now that they know, they can't not know. And that doesn't always feel so good.
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
Yeah. But here's the thing. It doesn't feel so good, but it's often the difference between living someone else's life and living the life you're called to. And the cost is regret. Yeah.
Man, I think about that question. The question, what do you want? And how that's one of the hardest questions for a leader to answer. Because it's often, well, I want to do this for this person or this for this organization or this for this. But like, hey, Jason, what do you want? Do you find that's the case? Or maybe that's just in my own head, potentially?
It's just your own head. No one that never happened before. Yeah, of course. Because I think that's what makes you a leader, is you're caring about others.
Yeah.
I also will say it's also a great place to hide. It's a great place to hide. The clients that unnerve me are the ones that ask me questions, and I'll kind of laugh and I'll say, hey, I'm in the chair, you're not, I get to ask you. Because we get these roles where it's really easy to do that and to not actually talk about our own stuff. But I think what leaders mistake a lot of times is that if they had needs or wants, people wouldn't meet them there. And what's actually true relationally is if you don't have needs and wants, you're hard to love. Because people don't know what to do and they're bad guessers. And so if you go, I don't need or want anything, it's like, well, that actually doesn't help relationships. It challenges them. Does that make sense?
Oh, it totally does. Because I'm thinking about one of my favorite things to talk about, discuss, think about is generosity. And for someone who is a generous person, they don't want to be surrounded by needy people necessarily, but they want to give. They want to give in a relationship. By remembering some random anecdote. They want to give in many different, their time, their talents, money, like all of those things. They show up to different environments wanting to give. And so if everybody's needs are taken care of, it's kind of a boring place to be. And when you give, you receive joy in return that outweighs the gift that you gave. And then now you've been connected to that person in a more intimate way, that if nobody has any needs, then gosh, what are we doing? Because it seems like we were made to depend on one another,
Right. And you kind of rob the other person of the opportunity to give you something.
Yeah.
And that's, for someone else to be able to give that to you, like, how good it feels. We want to give them the chance to do it back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when a relationship is one-sided, that's not a lasting relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think we're afraid to share because we've been burned in the past? Like, oh, I told that person I wanted this or I needed this, and they just couldn't come through or they wouldn't come through. Like, is that part of it?
Yeah, but that's true for everybody. I mean, I think for leaders, there are some different things at stake, and we have to be careful about that and measured. And, I'm maybe not telling my team my deepest need. I maybe don't say that, but I think there are different variations of that. But yeah, I mean, I think of that C.S. Lewis quote, which is to love it all or let people in is to risk being hurt.
Yeah.
And so that risk never goes away unless you try not to do it. And then it's a different risk. And so I think for leaders, it just gets comfortable not, but it actually stalls us out.
Yeah, it sure does. You were just talking about that, sharing with your team. Let's talk about measured vulnerability for a second. As a leader of a team, how do you determine what is worth sharing or what's safe to share? How would you coach someone to think through that?
Yeah, I would say work up to the big things instead of work back.
Okay.
So a lot of people say, you know what, I haven't been very genuine or authentic or haven't been vulnerable. And so I'm going to tell you my deepest, darkest secret and then kind of see what you do.
Yeah.
And they go, oh man, that totally backfired. So what I tell people is just don't swing for the fences the first time.
Yeah.
Just let them in a little bit. And so what I'll say is if you were just today 25% more honest when you talk to people, how would that change things?
Yeah.
And start there. You don't have to go all the way, but how could you even just be 25% more honest when people are talking to you?
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Are you working with leaders who, you talked about performing under pressure. Are you working with leaders who are I'm thinking of the person who's maybe having to redefine their career or redefine what work looks like for them. Is that a type of person that you're helping?
Definitely.
Okay. How do you walk them through something like that where maybe they're sensing, hey, I think this season's coming to a close and I'm getting ready to move on to something else, but I don't know what, but I don't want to walk away from what I've got because what I have is good. How would you start talking to somebody around that?
Yes, I'm a big proponent of we have to understand where we came from. So I'm a big guy on sort of what's your origin story? How did you grow up? And what did that teach you about how the world works? Now, a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to talk about the past. And, and I go, sure. And yet it's the blueprint by which we operate if we're not intentional. Yeah. So I kind of start with what are the rules that you were taught as a kid about how the world works and how are those playing out today? And then if you don't like the rules, what rules would you rather have? And how do those apply to where we're going? And then we talk about what's my identity, what's my character, what's my values, and how do those fit in to where I'm headed?
Yeah.
And by the time we kind of do all of that and we cut back some of the distraction, it's pretty clear. Most people, I will tell you, Tim, most people come to me not because they don't know what to do, but because they need permission to do it.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And it makes my job pretty cool.
Yeah. Sounds easy. Can I have it?
Yeah.
No, that's what's funny, Jason, is it's very parallel, different worlds. But a lot of people come to us or my team and say, hey, I'm looking to retire in the next couple of years. I think I can. I've done the back of napkin math, but I'm scared because I've never done it. And it feels like something you can't take back. There's all this fear and intrepidation. But we've had people where they're like, hey, if this phone call goes well, you guys, we're going to put in our pink slip after the call. And so again, yeah, it's just like 90% of the way there, but they need someone like standing next to them when they push the button,
Yeah. But I think, don't we all? That's that relationship part you're talking about. It's just, we all need that. I don't care how successful you are or how wealthy. It's like we just all need other people to know about us and care.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about the 5 paths to deeper communication. You've got a book coming out called Discover Your Communication Type. It's coming out April 14th. So buy the book, file your taxes the next day.
Yes. That's very strategic. That's why we put it on that day. Just to remind everyone.
Exactly. Ned Flanders, his are already in, but everybody else.
Buy the book, write it off. That's what
write it off. Well, write it off for next year. Anyways, but you're not the tax guy. So tell me about where the book came from, where the idea come from.
Yeah, well, Tim, I mean, you can imagine my shock when I thought I was the first guy to write a communication book. I had the idea for a communication book, and then lo and behold, so have some other people.
Yeah.
And so I was shocked, but not really. Kidding aside, I've gotten to do a lot of workshops, retreats, speaking engagements where people would read a script, right? So I've done some kind of sales stuff. I've done couples work where there's like a script of like kind of say this. And so I was sitting at a couples retreat and we had a script for how to have better empathy. And so the guy would read the script, and then, his wife was supposed to, fall deeper in love with him, and it was supposed to be amazing.
So you were attending the retreat?
No, I was hosting. So we had a script. They're going to read the script. Yeah. Everyone's going to be in love. It's,
got it.
Cue the music. It's wonderful.
Okay.
And so I watched down this lineup of people all reading the same thing. Okay. And by the way, really well written. It's the good stuff, but they're reading the thing. And I see that for some couples, this is landing perfectly. Okay. It's doing what you set out to do. For other couples, not landing at all. And it kind of started this question to me is like, what is that about? Because I've been in so many conversations with people, whether it's business or their marriage or things like that, where there was everything at stake. And they seemingly said the right things, but it didn't land.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was really kind of tasked with this question of like, why doesn't it land? Like they said something great on paper, but why didn't that land? And so that kind of led me to a deeper understanding of some of the things I've been working on, which are how our attachment, how our family of origin shape who we are and how we communicate. And so from that, what I really came up with is that there's kind of 5 distinct types of communication. And really what it's about is the why people communicate. Because if we can connect with the why they're communicating, it's easier to land that plane.
Yeah. My business coach says communication is information received. And I was thinking about that as you were talking about. Everybody's reading the same script. Some people are like, yeah. And others are like, I'm not getting this at all.
Yeah, because we tend to judge, our communication by our intentions, but other people judge it by our words.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do is kind of bridge that gap and just say, but what if you understood their intentions?
Yeah. All right. What are the 5 types? And then which one am I? Ready, go. Low pressure.
I'll let you take the assessment.
Okay.
I'm a pretty good guesser, but I like people to do it. But I'll tell you, so it's PATHS, it's PATHS.
Okay.
And the P is peacemaker. And so what a peacemaker is trying to do in every conversation is make sure we're all okay, we're all happy enough, and we're moving in the same direction.
Got it.
And for them, that's often about being in places where they kind of felt out of control and there was big emotions and not sure what to do with that. And so if we can just be at peace, we're okay.
Yeah.
They're wonderful people because they're great in a negotiation. Like you need these things. And just as a side note, there's not a bad one on here.
Yeah.
So these are all just things that make people different, but not bad.
Yeah.
The A is the advocate. And the advocate is all about what's fair, what's just, and what's right.
Okay.
So they're listening and communicating always through the lens of, is this fair, is it just, is it right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're great people because they'll be, protection for you. If someone's bullying you, have an advocate because they'll say the thing no one else will say.
Yeah.
T is thinker, and thinkers are mostly internal processors, and they're really concerned with if I analyze it, does it make sense? Mm-hmm. Is it logical? Is it factual? And they kind of go in before they go out.
Got it.
The H is the harbor, and the harbor is really concerned with feelings. So how do I feel? How do you feel? Can I make space? That's hence the harbor. Can I make space for your feelings? Those might be positive, negative, but they're really, how do I make space for that?
Yeah.
And then the S is the spark. And the spark is a person that walks in the room and everybody knows they walked in the room and they're the energy momentum. But if you try to go negative or you kind of go down a little bit, they're like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
I want to kind of keep it fun and light and moving. And so
That's
what we do is we take the assessment, and you get a primary and a secondary, and you get rated on all of them, but it's just a quick assessment, and you just kind of learn, like, how do I naturally show up?
Yeah.
Now, why this matters so much is under pressure, we tend to default to who we really are.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I work in a place full of thinkers, and that works for me because I can be a thinker when I need to be.
Yeah.
But when push comes to shove, if I'm kind of naturally a harbor and my feelings are really important, that part's going to come out.
Yeah.
And that's often when we miss each other.
Yeah. So interesting. I know communicating under stress seems like everything changes.
Well, we go back to what we know.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, we kind of just go back to our core operating system.
Yeah.
And that's why so many couples go, hey, we got together. It was amazing. We had a honeymoon period. And now we're having a lot of conflict. What happened?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you are who you are under pressure. And that just looks a little different than how you showed up initially.
Yeah. Yeah. What I'm really wondering is why don't you use the acronym of SHAPT instead of PATHs? Just
Would that have been better?
It's got a ring to it, you know?
Oh, well, it's memorable.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that. It's memorable. It would look great on a T-shirt, I think.
Shaped? Is that shaped? What, shapped? All right. So which one am I then? What's your guess?
You tell me. What do you think?
Oh man, I heard myself in a lot of them. So since it's shapped, we had the spark. I don't think it's the spark. There's definitely arenas where it could be spark. I don't think it's that. Shapped. H is harbor.
Yeah.
It's not going to be I'm not an H. It's not my feelings and your feelings. A is advocate. My gut was advocate is the looking through lens of right or wrong and what's fair.
Fair, right, just. Yep.
Yes. That's got to be one of my top two.
Yep. I agree.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Because I don't know if I would be the one to speak up as much though. But I could be wrong. So yeah, I'd say advocate is up there. Thinker might be number 2.
Yeah.
But that's a guess.
That would be my guess. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm always open to being surprised, but
Yeah.
But I mean, if I had to say, those two seem to be more in alignment with how you communicate.
Okay. All right. Which, how do those people come across? Let's take the advocate, for example. Like, how are they coming across? How would an advocate need to, I guess, adjust so that as they're communicating, their communication's received by the other person?
Yeah. I mean, so the thing with an advocate that they have to kind of understand is not every fight is your fight.
Okay.
And the fairness thing isn't always relevant to people's feelings.
Yeah.
And so that's where that can get them kind of stuck.
Mm-hmm.
The thinker is kind of the same as, if you apply analysis to feelings, it doesn't always work, right? So feelings don't really have to make sense. They're just feelings.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, I have some harbor, obviously, and my wife is a thinker. And so what do you think conflict's like between the two of us?
All right. Remind me harbor again.
Yeah, so feeling oriented. So I'm making space for how it feels, and she's the thinker, right? So she's coming from, is it accurate? Is it precise? Is it factual?
Yeah. And you're like, well, it just felt like the right thing to do. And she's like, well, you take in all the data. And it's obviously not. Let me show you the graph. It's probably like you're on.
Yeah, she's got the Excel spreadsheet already.
Right. So it probably feels like you're on 2 different planets sometimes.
Yep. And if we don't know that, what we would say is, well, I'm misunderstood. She doesn't get me.
Yeah.
And if you interviewed my wife, she gets me. She loves me, right? But she doesn't communicate the same way. So what we do then is, I know going into a heavy situation or conflict or something like that with her, I gotta address it through the lens of a thinker. That needs to be a priority, and she needs to address it through the lens of feelings or the harbor for me.
Yeah.
And when we both kind of say, I'm going to give you what you need first, and then let's work it out.
Yeah.
It gets easier.
Yeah. what's the difference between what you just described and I'll call it manipulation, to just jump to the other? Like,
Yep.
you guys love each other. You're in a covenant relationship that you're like, hey, I'm going to love you no matter what. And so I'm going to choose to speak your language so that you feel seen and heard. How do you differentiate that between like, I'm going to say what they need to hear so I get what I want?
Well, that's a good question. The word that comes to mind is intention.
Yeah.
Is what's your intention behind it? And I think the thing is that, we can always use some of this stuff for manipulation. And I'd argue, people are manipulating things all the time for better or worse. But I'm going to come back to like, what's the intention for doing that?
Yeah.
And is it to strengthen the relationship? Because I think it does fall flat if it's not genuine.
Yeah.
And a lot of what it is it's a little less even about what you say to them and about what you listen to from them. So I need to hear what she thinks, even if I don't particularly, even if that's not what's interesting to me at the moment.
Yeah.
So a typical thing is I would have a meeting with a friend. I'd be like, I'm so excited. This is amazing. We're doing all this stuff. She'd be like, hey, I just ran all the numbers, and I'd go, hey, that's a buzzkill. I don't want to hear about any of that stuff right now. And so it's not even about what I'd say, but about what I'd be willing to hear, even though it's not mine.
Yeah. It's not about what you say, but what you'd be willing to hear, even though it's not yours. That's good, man. Throw that on a t-shirt.
And it changes things. Yeah, it changes things because then you feel loved.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. How do you see this framework of the 5 different communication types moving into like leaders in organizations? How would this benefit a leader and their team to understand this?
Yeah, so I mean, kind of a funny story. I mean, I started kind of field testing this, I don't know, about a year ago, and working with a lot of couples, and then I had some leaders that said, hey, this has been really helpful. I think we're going to take it to our team. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. And so how it's really worked with teams is, I mean, what we start to identify is why our culture is struggling. We start to identify why we can't talk through big decisions and get to an outcome.
Yeah.
And we start to understand what the general kind of type is of the organization.
Okay.
And so what happens a lot of times that I've noticed so far is an organization, let's say they're all advocates. They think to themselves, wouldn't it be great to have someone a little different? Okay. And so then they bring on a peacemaker. And all of a sudden they're like, hey, this is not going well. This we're chronically at odds here. What is going on? And what's really going on is it's different communication.
Yeah.
And so the thing that we look towards, that we say this would be great to offset us, if we don't understand what it is that makes it different, we have a lot of problems.
Yeah. Yep. So how do you go about understanding what makes it different and how to address that?
Yeah, you do the assessment. You kind of see where everyone's strongest one or two lie, and then we start to figure out how do we incorporate that into what we're doing. So what that looks like on kind of an organizational level is, how do we incorporate that into when we're giving feedback? How do we incorporate that into difficult conversations, into big decisions? How do we incorporate that into culture? And what I've really found that's been really interesting is, when people feel seen, heard, and understood, they show up differently.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest complaints and reasons for employee turnover is people don't feel understood.
Yeah.
And so if you have someone speaking two wildly different types, that's just a given that they're missing each other. And so sometimes it's not that it has to be turnover. It's just we just have to communicate differently.
Okay. How do I talk to somebody who is all right, let's say I'm an advocate. What are your types? I don't even know yours.
Yeah. So harbor would be one.
Yep.
And I'm kind of interesting in the sense that harbor and thinker. So
Okay.
I feel first, think second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably gets you into a lot of trouble.
Hey, it made me a therapist.
There we go.
Yeah, it's made me a therapist.
I feel like my 8-year-old self would want me here. So this is what I'm doing.
I also think this is going to be a lot. Yeah.
This is going to be a lot. Buckle up. So if you and I are having a conversation, an advocate to a harbor, what would you want me to show up as so that you feel seen and heard? How would that play out?
Yeah, I guess what I'd want to know, because what you're going to want to try to talk to him about is if it's fair or just.
Yeah.
That's kind of going to be your approach. Is you're going to go, that's the thing. If I had to choose the words I'm going to use, it's probably going to be about that.
Yeah.
And so my job is to hear that.
Yeah.
My job is to say, okay, it matters to you. It matters to me.
Yeah.
So I want to hear that from you. And and then what I'm going to do, and it's so funny if you think about the conversation we've already had, I've already asked you how you feel a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah. That matters to me a lot. And so I'm going to go, yeah, the whole fairness thing, sure. And tell me how you feel.
Yeah.
And once you share that, I go, okay, well, you get me, I get you. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. What if when you say, how do you feel? I say, I don't know.
Maybe that's honest. We don't always know. And so the kind of beauty of this is it just shows where there's some opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'll see somebody who has, it's one person's a harbor, one person's a thinker, and they're married and they have, they're the highest you can be on it and the lowest on the other. And you just go, well, that's an opportunity for growth. Yeah. So the first half of the book is the assessment.
Okay.
And it helps you kind of learn the types. The second half of the book is how do you put it into use? And so how do we have hard conversations? How do we say no? How do we have boundaries based on our type?
Yeah. Yeah. We were just talking about this today with our team. We've been walking through some trainings with our coach. We've done a Myers-Briggs training, StrengthsFinder training, and Enneagram training, and bringing those three together. And we've done like a team grid and where everybody lands and stuff like that.
Wow, that's organized.
It's very organized. We found we have a lot of high harmony on the team, and overall conflict averse. So knowing that, how would you encourage our group, or what kinds of things should we keep in mind as we're trying to work through a hard decision, or trying to work on a project together and communicate? What are things that might help us?
Yeah, I think there's room for all voices, and then we just have to decide which one we want to use to make a decision.
Okay.
Some things are all about if it's fair or just. Some people work in places where that's really all that matters. You can have whatever feeling you want about it. I live in a place where feelings matter a lot.
Yeah.
And so I can learn and grow from other people, but if I'm just making a client decision, feelings and probably what I think about that, like those are going to be the two things we're going to use.
Yeah.
And so I think like any one of those things you mentioned, which are all great things, and some of this, so I reference the Enneagram in the book and kind of what types tend to fall under what types, but anything like this is just to better understand yourself and others.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think that's the growth opportunity that we started with, even you and I, is what's the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the truth? Because, there's so many times I meet with a leader and they've talked for 60 minutes straight and then they take one breath and they say, and so I think I'm a great listener. And you go, hey, maybe everywhere but here.
Yeah.
But I don't know about if that's actually true or not. And the problem is we just can't see ourselves outside of ourselves. And so this is to try to help.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Tell me quickly, like Enneagram types into which of the Shapt types. I'm just getting paths. I'll stop. Which ones have a tendency to go where? I'm super interested in that.
Yeah. The book talks a lot more about it, but I mean, you have overlaps. So, I mean, obviously, like me being a harbor, being a 2, not a huge shocker, right?
Yeah.
And so you have the drive. Some of the spark stuff, 8, 9, like you can start to see some of those people where it's like, yeah, of course. But what we're really talking about with the Enneagram, with attachment, and with our origin story is kind of the why behind it. Because this all stems from a place. And so what we forget a lot of times is that we have unlimited words we could choose.
Yeah.
Right? But we choose the ones we choose. And so there's a reason for that. And when we can start to understand the reason, whether it's through the lens of Enneagram or attachment or family of origin, we start to be able to really connect with people. Right? It's kind of that idea of if you've ever seen someone behave in a certain way that didn't make sense, but then they gave you context and you went, well, now I kind of get it.
Yeah.
That's what this book aims to do with communication.
Yes. Get the context for where they're coming from, and it gives you a better understanding of where they're at. Because otherwise we're making up the context, right? Like
always. Yeah, always. And we're not great at it.
Yeah.
We usually have the same made up stories about that.
Yeah.
But it, what I'll tell you in my research and kind of writing all of this and doing it is a lot of times the reason behind why we communicate the way we do has a lot to do with a wound we had or a struggle we had in a way that we've adapted to get around it. So for instance, if you were a person who hadn't been treated fairly and you know how bad that feels, you then start to adapt by going, well, I'm going to make sure other people don't feel that.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to say the thing other people wouldn't say because I know what it's like when nobody does.
Yeah. All right. Hitting real deep right now. Jeez. Would you consider, is that like a coping mechanism?
Yeah, it's adaptation. Yeah, I mean, it's just so many of the things that we have in our life made sense in the environment in which it was born.
Yeah.
But the environment changes.
Yeah.
And so that's why when we're under pressure or we're struggling a little bit, we just kind of travel back in time to that place.
Yeah.
Because it made sense then.
Yeah. Wow. That's really good, man. Jason, anything else that you're thinking of that, especially around the book, that you would want people to know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the whole goal of the book is, and I firmly believe this. I mean, I'm a faith guy. To me, I think we honor our faith best when we have healthy relationships, and I think healthy relationships can change the world, and we need it now more than ever. So I mean, that's the heart behind the book. Is to put something out that brings people closer, not to put something out that gives people labels. What I don't want is people to go, oh, that guy, that's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to use it as a springboard to get closer. Yeah. Because I think we just live in a world now where we just need that. And so many people want that and aren't sure how to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so going back to, you said these are 5 different types, all good types. So we can't be like, oh, harbors, they just go with their feelings and whatever they feel like, and they don't think through stuff.
I'm offended. Yes. I'll tell you how I feel about that.
Please do. What is it that it seems like we're in a world where we can't have a conversation with conflict? I'll give you an example. I'll try to make it hypothetical. Let's say there's a athletic coach that some parents don't like. Some parents do like. There's an incident on the team. Some parents go, you know what? This is our chance to get rid of him. And rather than go, hey, let's get to the heart of the matter. Let's see what the kids need and stuff like that. It just becomes this whole thing. And I feel like it comes down to, we don't know how to have a conversation around conflict of like, hey, I don't like this. Could we maybe address it? And instead it's like, let's just get rid of the person, and then the problem goes away. Are you seeing that as you're helping people through these communication things?
Yeah, definitely. And what I see is people, they kind of they don't have language for it, but they identify someone to be a different type. And so then instead of even doing conflict, you just push them out. Yeah. Now you could do conflict with someone like you. So a lot of times people are willing to do conflict with somebody who speaks the same type. Yeah. But if you're out of that, they just go, I don't want to learn how to do that. Yeah. And it just, I think we live in a world where it's so easy to do that. It's hard to do the right thing. Yeah. It's hard to say, actually, I'm going to try to talk it out with them. Yeah. Or actually, maybe they weren't as wrong as we think, or I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt. I think we live in a place that's pretty cynical. And not that bad things haven't happened and people don't have a reason to be a bit cynical. Oh, yeah. But I think it just feels like it's easier than to actually do it. And this is the part too, where I look back at childhood stuff, and we're kind of products now of some generations that maybe didn't get taught how to do conflict very well. Yeah. Interesting. What's one or two things somebody could do in talking with a different communication type to, like, the person listening that's like, man, I would like to build that muscle of being able to have a conflict conversation with somebody rather than just escaping and going like, nah, I'm done with them.
What are a couple practical things they could do?
Yeah, I think the one that I talk about the most often is be a student of the other person. So literally go in with no agenda other than to learn how they do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you have to agree, right?
Yeah.
So it's not saying, well, you have to get to the end and then be, in agreement. You don't have to be, but be a student of the other person. I think we've kind of lost that.
Yeah.
That feels like, a lot of work. And one of the things people love most is when someone is a student of how they do things.
Yeah.
It's like you want to get somebody that's really hard to reach to respond. You ask them to tell about how they do something, and people almost always will. Because we love to explain how we do things. And so let someone.
Yeah.
And see what sticks.
Yeah. That's so good. That's something you're really good at. I've noticed that in talking to you a couple different times, that you're actually trying to learn about the other person instead of the person that's like, I can't wait until they stop talking so I can say my thing that's in my head right now.
That's what I'm doing. I'm just really patient. I'm just super patient.
Yeah. Before we started recording, you said a quote that I said like 3 months ago, and I was like, how does he even know that? And usually I'm the one that does that to people. So I was very, very honored by that.
Yeah. Well, I think that is a way to honor people that we miss. I think sometimes we overcomplicate it, and it's just listen to what people say, remember what people say, and value it the way they value it.
Yeah.
Like if you did that, most of the time your relationships are dramatically different in a good way.
Yeah. Say those 3 things again. I know you've already forgotten them, but
yeah, mostly forgotten it. But listen to what they say, right? Yeah. I would say maybe that second part a little bit different. Listen to why it matters. So understand kind of the rules and the system that it's based on, and then honor it. Number 3 is just honor that it matters to them. Yeah. And so it's kind of like if someone has something really important in their life, you're going to bring it up.
Yeah.
You say, hey, how's that thing? And so we don't do that very much anymore.
Yeah.
And what I'm always trying to, I guess, hope for in any conversation is that I show up and I learn something. So that's my whole goal anytime I'm talking to somebody.
Yeah.
Is what can I learn from this person in front of me who no doubt has their own wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think if we approach relationships like it's a value add for everybody.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yep. Because someone getting to share what they know and what their wisdom is them getting to practice being generous. And they're going to get a ton of joy out of that. Like you said, hey, tell me how you did that. Man, what a great question.
Everybody loves that question. Everyone's like, well, I've been waiting my whole life for someone to ask.
Yes.
Versus, hey, tell me what to do. Everyone's like, no, thanks. Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. What, you're from Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Yeah.
If we were hanging out, I'm like changing train tracks dramatically. So
okay. I'm tracking.
Bring your harbor self all the way with me.
I have some feelings, but I'm tracking.
If we're going to get donuts, not at Dunkin' or something, I don't know.
Lucky you, we don't have Dunkin', so we won't be going there.
There we go. Where are we going?
Boy. There's a good donut place. There's a good donut place here.
I'm not convinced. That didn't sound like super.
It's not a bad donut place.
That sounded like 3.7 stars.
I mean, there's a cronut place in Nashville. That would be my favorite. So it's kind of a croissant donut got together.
Yeah,
a beautiful child. I love that. That's good.
What is that place? You just went nationwide on me, which is fine.
I did. Well, I'm in Nashville all the time. So and I'm drawing a blank on the name. I mean, like Five Daughters has a version of it in Nashville, but there's a smaller place.
Yeah, Five Daughters is.
But what I would say about Sioux Falls is we have donuts, and I don't want to offend any Sioux Falls donut people because they're lovely donuts.
Yeah.
But what we actually have that are really good too is we've got a place called CH Patisserie that makes great croissants, and they're a little French bakery. Yeah. And then we've got Queen City, which is a phenomenal bakery too. So you and I would be hanging at one of those places.
Okay. That's what I was looking for. So that's perfect. Donuts is my love language, so I always start with that.
Is it really?
It is. It absolutely is.
What's your favorite donut you've ever had, and where was it?
Oh man. The listeners are going to get real bored of this because it probably comes up every other episode. Spunky Dunkers, Palatine, Illinois. They have a vanilla iced ring. It's just a yeast donut, vanilla frosting. I'm kind of a vanilla guy, but they've just nailed it, and it's real good. The shop's been around for decades. It's really an old school like diner with like a curvy counter and the bar stools in front. No place to sit other than that. It's open 24 hours a day. They definitely still make the donuts there. So like none of them are the same shape. Like they're just all kinds
like that's what we had.
Yeah. Well, well, you go to Dunkin' and it's like, oh my gosh, this came out of literally a machine. And because they're all exactly the same. And so that's one of my favorites. There's also one in St. Louis, Missouri, World's Fair Donuts, I believe.
Okay.
All these places are like, the donuts are still like 85 cents a piece.
Yeah, that's how it should be.
Yeah,
that's how it should be.
I'm not a fan of your donuts $4.50.
It's got to be good. You got to prove it to me.
It's got to be $4.50 good, which is like outstanding. Yeah,
that's a lot. Do you? We don't want to bore the audience on the donut talk, but I'm intrigued.
Yes.
Do you remember the best donut you ever had that time? Because there's like your favorite donut, but then there's the favorite time. Like for instance, I like coffee, and I can tell you my favorite coffee, best coffee I ever had.
And go on.
It was in London. I went with my family. I'd never been overseas. We stayed up all night. We were wandering the streets. I couldn't even tell you where it was. And we came upon this little Turkish cafe.
Oh.
And it was Turkish coffee sitting outside. It was 40 degrees. We all had our coats zipped up. We're shivering. We're half awake, comatose. And that coffee, Tim, lives in my mind for the rest of my life. It's the best.
Is that like the Turkish coffee? It's like got the cardamom in it or something? Yeah. There's like a little bit of a...
first time having it. And it was best time ever.
That's really good. I'll have to think of my coffee story for sure. But okay, now we can connect on coffee more.
Yeah.
This is good. So is one of the two shops you mentioned in Sioux Falls, that's we would have coffee there as well, or would we go somewhere else for that?
Probably have coffee there as well. Yeah, okay. One of the places, Queen City, has the best drink ever. That's literally what it's called.
Okay.
And it's great. It's a phenomenal drink. The other place has great cappuccinos.
Okay. Yeah. There we go. All right. When you come to Chicago, we'll go to Sparrow Coffee. It's in Naperville, just down the street from my house. And they're the #1 distributor of coffee beans to Michelin star rated restaurants in Chicago.
Wow.
So they know their coffee really well.
I love that.
Yeah. So we'll have to go there. Okay. Last question. What's one thing, I always like to end this way. What's one thing you're loving right now? This could be a Turkish coffee experience. It could be a person. It could be a place, a product, anything. Just one thing that's like bringing you joy right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would actually say my family. It's, there's seasons in any family and raising kiddos and stuff where it's like harder and easier, and we're at kind of a good rhythm right now where everyone is out of diapers, which is awesome, and can communicate, and we're kind of navigating like new life things for them. And so I feel like although my work is great and I'm so grateful and it's developing and growing and all of that, like I'm just happy to get home a lot of days. Like I just can't wait to get home and in the door and see them.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's so good. My thing right now is not going to be as sentimental. Okay. I went to
Why don't you just tell me what you think, Tim? I just told you what I feel, so let's hear what you think.
I think mine's not as good because I just ran the numbers. No, I went to a barbecue brisket smoking class a couple weeks ago, a 5-hour class. Okay. Because one of my buddies was going. It meant a lot to him, and I was like, you know what, this is going to be awesome. And it was phenomenal. They showed us how to make a couple different things. While we were there, they didn't even cook the brisket. It was actually done. And the 5 hours we were there, it just rested, just sat there. Okay. But apparently that's the magical part of it.
I would like to be good at that. I had a phase where I bought like a Traeger and I was going to like smoke all these things in the green egg and I just never really did. But I was in love with the idea. It's a great idea.
Great. Well, the next
Definitely
part
a
of the story
consumer.
is I bought a smoker and I'm going into that phase, and I hope I actually do it.
I hope you do too. It was a great phase. Resale value on some of those isn't as much as you'd hope, so stick with it, my friend. But it might just be your thing.
Yes. Well, that was the idea. It's like, man, it would be great, number one, to contribute protein to the family meal throughout, for the whole week. And number two, here's the problem. I bought a drum smoker, which means it's not a Traeger. You have to like monitor it.
Yep.
And so it's going to require 5 or 6 hours of monitoring.
Which, I mean,
why are you laughing?
I'm just smiling. I'm a smiley guy. I'm just smiling. I'm loving this for you, Tim. I love it for you. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
What I'm actually thinking, I mean, the greater thing that I'm thinking about is, isn't it weird how we just all have this great desire to make something?
Yeah.
Like whether it's food or build something, like we've kind of lost some of that because everything is just purchased.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just a guy thing, but just I noticed that like drive.
Yeah.
Where it's like I want to do something. I want to make something, and that for some reason seems really hard to do sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, 100%. Because man, being able to contribute something to the family, even making something that takes time. There's something. Maybe I'm just like really in a fantasy land about it right now.
Oh, I think it's going to be great.
But
all 6 hours. I think it's going to be amazing. You're going to love it.
Yeah, like if that allows me to slow down and think and have margin for my family, because I was able to pause for a while and do some stuff, while I'm doing it. But yeah, I think there's something huge about making something, working hard on something, seeing the end result, seeing it not so good the first time, and then get better and better and better. So,
well, memories are made in that space. Not a lot of memories are made in the space of purchasing. I remember when Dad used to take me to the store and buy food. Yeah. Not a lot of kids recall that memory.
Yeah.
Right? But hey, I remember the time, Dad worked for 6 hours with the drum smoker and made the food, and it was tremendous, and we sat outside. Like, that's actually the memory stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. They remember the making more than the other.
So true. I love it. Yeah. Is it Bob Goff that says it's not an adventure until something goes wrong? I think
it is. And that's very Bob Goff.
Oh, it's so good. So awesome, man. This has been great. And since you want to get home to your family, let's make that happen right now.
Yeah, this has been so good, though. Honestly, my friend, just value you and really appreciate the questions and the insight. I mean, I think what you do and how you help people, I mean, it's just obvious you care and you pay attention. So grateful for that.
Yeah, thanks, man. You too.